yes, here we go again. The bus is back on the road. It is the bus home. It is our post-match show. Aberdeen 0, Celtic 2. A good wee victory up there at Pittodrie. Always got potential to a wee bit of banana skin, but they've successfully navigated it, and they are back down the road with the 3 points in tow. And yes, of course, if it is the post-match show, he is here for his first one, his first competitive game of the season, and he's looking like a bronze god right now. He's just back from Lanzarote. Terry, the people have been waiting to see you, and here you are. How you doing, mate?
I'm okay, Phil. I'm okay. I'm going through a wee bit of the holiday blues, having come back and getting back into it. But then I think what today gives me is the things that you don't get when you're away on holiday, which is a decent pint of Guinness and being a wee bit closer to Celtic, even though there's still a bit of water between us. It just feels better when we're here. I've actually only just, probably for full transparency, I've only just finished watching the game because, as you know, it clashed with one of my wee lads' matches this morning, and there was no other coaches to cover it, so I had to do that. Doesn't happen very often, but I managed to turn the phone off, ignore absolutely everybody who would be letting me know what the score was, and came home and just watched it as if it was live with a 3 o'clock kickoff. So I'm kind of just fresh, having only known the score about 15 minutes ago. But it's great. It's great to be back again. You know, you really miss the football during the summer, and none of those other things that are happening, like stupid World Club Cups and nothing like that, really replaces the magic of the SPL in my mind. And it's great to be back.
No, it's good to have you back, John. I totally echo that. That felt like a very long summer. Even you and I jumped on and did a pre-season friendly game just to take some minutes in the legs. And yeah, it's kind of, what can you really say about a pre-season game? But yeah, the real stuff has started now. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to talk about this. But of course, we're not alone tonight. There is a triple threat of Tims on screen. Reegan, how are you doing, mate?
I'm doing well, mate. I'm doing well. It was a good 2-0 win. I didn't think it was the greatest of matches, but I mean, as you said earlier, Pittodrie's a hard place to go, so Celtic got the 3 points, and that's the most important thing.
Oh, definitely, especially with a certain result yesterday as well from the Govan Galacticos. Fantastic. You just love to see it. But of course, before we get diving into it, before we do all that, you know what to do, folks. Do all that good stuff and help the channel out. We're growing nicely at the moment. We're on a good trajectory, but you can help us out that wee bit more by doing all the good stuff. I say, hit the like button. Helps out with the old algorithm, the traction there. Get involved in our comment section tonight. Obviously, let us know what you thought of the game. Give us your opinions on it and whatnot. Of course, if you're new to the channel, you happen to discover us tonight through said algorithm or whatever, then by all means hit the subscribe button and keep us in your life that wee bit longer. And of course, we have memberships now as well. Get your Celtic scarf next to your name on YouTube. What more could you want? For $1.99 a month, you can have a little Celtic scarf icon next to your name. And of course, yeah, it's the same setup really as we had on the Bhoys bus as well, just for $1.99 a month. We won't have anything hidden behind a Patreon. We won't have any member exclusive content. We won't go do anything like that. It just helps us to keep the old the wheels on the wheels turning on the bus essentially. And also, we now have an audio platform as well. If you like to catch up with us via audio rather than sitting down in front of a computer screen, then the link to our SoundCloud website is in the description below, so you can find it there as well. And yes, with all of that said and done, Terry, this is, of course, is your domain, the post-match show, so I'll hand it over to you to get it started and take us on the bus home, sir.
So we'll probably just start with the lineup then, Phil. No real surprises for me. I mean, if it was myself, I probably would have maybe considered starting with Reegan as a sort of inverted right-hand side player, maybe instead of Forrest, and then that would have allowed you to either play an Engels or a McCowan, who did quite well last week. So I kind of had that in my mind, but I didn't think the manager would do that. I thought he would go with Forrest, and turns out that's what he did. So no real surprises with any of that. The guys on the bench, I suppose the only one that was kind of probably would have been Inamura. Would he make his way onto the bench? And for the second week in a row, he didn't. I mean, if you're looking at the bench, I know it sounds a bit silly nowadays to say you're only allowed 9, but you are only allowed 9. And I think what you want to do is you want to get as many attacking options on there as possible, because if you need to change the game, it's usually in the attacking areas that you want to bring on reinforcements. We knew Forrest wouldn't last the game, so we would need to have someone to replace him. We knew Ida wouldn't last the game because he's useless. It now transpires Tierney probably only plays 65. So I'm really interested to see how long that plays out. Is this a journey towards being able to play 90, or is he not able to play 90 anymore, or what's the situation there? And I think you really don't want any more than 2 defenders there. And I think you need Ralston because he's the only real right back cover for Johnston. And then it's a case of, well, do you have Trusty as backup to Tierney and Scales, or do you go in Amura, or do you squeeze? If you squeeze another one in there, you're going to have to lose one of the attacking options. I think it would be harsh not to have McCown, Bernardo, Engels on there, because the midfield is probably the one area where we're well stocked, and we've got reasonably like for like replacements for the players in there. So and interesting. I think there's. I don't know if there's a little bit of the manager trying to show that he still needs a left back, and I don't know. I think you want as many attacking players on the bench as possible, because you, like I say, the bench is usually used to either give respite or to try and change a game that's not going your way, and you want as many positive players on there who can contribute and make a difference. So no real surprises for me in terms of either starting lineup or the bench. And then, of course, as you know, you're just looking to see in terms of can we improve on last week's performance, which I think we probably did a little bit. I think it was a bit better today. We do always look at Pittodrie as a bit of a banana skin. Now our record there is absolutely exceptional, and I think you're going there, you know, expecting to get the job done. And if you step back from the game, whilst it wasn't a brilliant game, we were comfortable. I mean, Smigel made one save. I think even if the ball had went in the net, it would have been disallowed because it was a blatant handball in the build-up, which John Beaton didn't see. He didn't have very much to do. We're 2 games in with 2 clean sheets. And I thought what we had today, in terms of those 2 goals, were the real 2 moments of quality in the game. The first one is the 2 quality players that we have brought in this summer, Kieran Tierney linking with Benjamin Nygren, and then you've got Nygren linking with Ray Oatati for a wonderful goal, an absolutely brilliant goal. So 2 moments of quality in a reasonably forgettable game, but one that was very, very comfortable. We're not top of the league yet. Hearts have just knocked us off with a 94.
Oh no!
Which do you know what? I find the whole Hearts thing very refreshing. I hope Hibs can get things going as well this season. They've had a great start in terms of the European games. Scottish football needs a little bit of a shake-up, and I'm all on for these teams coming in and making noise and trying to get involved in the whole thing. So we're talking about a poor transfer window. We're talking about a poor start to the season in terms of last week's game. And today was nothing to get excited about, but we're 100% record, plus 3 goal difference, and hopefully some good players to come in over the next 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, well, if they want anything in for the European game, they've got 4 days now to get them in. So, we'll see about that. I know Brendan once again was asked after the game, anything to report there, Brendan? And it was nothing to report now, and still seem to maintain the whole will be stronger by the end of the window. But newsflash, Celtic, the European
the term he used was
the end of the window.
I can't magic anything up.
Definitely can. I wish to God he would. I wish to God. But interestingly enough, Reegan, I said on Friday night when I was on with Liam, I was talking about the record at Pittodrie, and I said, like, the game seems to go one of 2 ways up at Pittodrie. We either have to grind it out, fight tooth and nail and narrow victory, 1-0, 2-1, whatever, or we go up there and we absolutely scalp them. But I did say on Friday night, I says, what I would give for just to go up there not really get out of second gear, have a nice little routine 2-0 win. And little did I know I've actually put it out there in the universe. And it happened today because we did get, as they said, they've kind of unexceptional game because once it's, it's one of the ones that, you won't forget, well, you won't remember much once the full-time whistle comes. It was just up there, got the job done, didn't really get troubled. The only time we really did have any problems was we played ourselves into a bit of danger sometimes, a couple of slack passes and obviously a quite ridiculous handball moment, which the referee just chose to ignore, which nearly led to a goal. Would have been interesting had that gone in. Would VAR have pulled it back and looked at it in any way? I wonder. But picking up there, Reegan, on something that Terry said in his opening gambit about surprises and whatnot, I think one that has caught people by surprise the last couple of games, obviously, is Liam Scales. Now, I'm beginning to feel like I'm turning into the Punk Duck Warlord with his Greg Taylor vendetta, and I'm always singling out Mr. Scales. But what's your feeling on this now? Because Austin Trusty obviously came in last year, 6 million. He had a bit of an up and down season, was in and out the team, getting rotated with Scales. We're still talking about we maybe need another centre-back, and you're looking at it in the last year or the last 2 years, Brendan's had 4.5 million for Naroki, 3 million or something for Lagerbielke, 6 million for Trusty, and he keeps going back to Liam Scales. So the board maybe are looking at it in the sense that, well, we have gave you a lot of money here in that area, and you keep going back to Liam Scales. But are you quite surprised that Austin Trusty still can't seem to get ahead of him right now? Because there was a few shaky moments there last week against St Mirren. He got into the game, Scales, but there was a few moments today where not under no pressure at all. He's trying to pass out of defence, and a couple of slack moments. So he does give me the fear a wee bit at times.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, he just brings pressure onto the team. I think there was a moment in the first half where nobody was under pressure, and he just puts the ball straight out the park, and you start to think, well, I think Brendan Rodgers clearly trusts him, Phil, but I just don't know. I don't know if he's generally up to the standard of being what we can require. But I know he is probably okay for Scotland in terms of the league they were playing in terms of playing against like Falkirk and teams like that. But I think if you want to go a step up into the Champions League, then I think you need to look for something different. But I think what you said there about in terms of like spending 6 million on Trusty, I thought Trusty did well, and then the Newcastle match in pre-season, I thought he did well, and I'm just a bit surprised why Brendan Rodgers is no playing him more often.
Yeah, it's becoming a mystery to say. With this, he keeps talking about equality and whatnot, and you're like, well, surely we can get better than Liam Scales. If I mean, Carter Vickers, we managed to get a centre back like him in recent years. You'd like to think we can find a left-sided equivalent of him.
I mean, don't forget we've got this Pusey.
Simpson Pusey. Yeah, he was up at the game today in the tracksuit again, but no, not even on the squad yet because apparently he's nowhere near match fitness in that one. But I think there was a comment there actually. Randy Snorton, what a great name. Hopefully to see July get a game with CCV. Yeah, maybe that will be the plan because I don't think this boy's going to come up here just to sit on the bench for 38 games. But as I say, just in terms of if you want to look at something that might be a surprise in the lineup, that might have been one that's caught people out. But then again, see, the way Brendan's treated Trusty and Scales in the last year, is it really a massive surprise? One person, though, that did come in, Terry, and after last week, it was a no-brainer, was obviously James Forrest. He was phenomenal when he came on against St Mirren. I did have my wee bit of concerns where, obviously, I was in favour of him starting because I think Yang is... I think he's a busted flush. I don't think we should be going... I think the Yang experiment, if it even was an experiment any time, is probably not going anywhere. But I thought James Forrest came in today, steady hand, did a lot of the sensible passes, just held on to the ball really well. Thought he had a very solid game overall. I did have my concerns that when starting the game, will he be as effective as what he was last week? But I think... At 34-year-old, in 2025, James Forrest, he still has something there to offer. Granted, we should still be prioritising the wingers' positions to obviously improve. But I say right now, if you're giving me the choice of Yang, Tilio or James Forrest, then James Forrest, I think today showed that no, it's my position to lose right now.
No, I'm with you 100% on that. Out of the options we've got, he's definitely the best on that right hand side. Do we really want to use him from the start as early as this in the season? I wouldn't have thought so, but needs must, and the club have allowed us to get into this position. We're telling Rapid Vienna we can't let Marco Tilio go because we've needed to replace him, but we were happy enough to let Como take away our best right-hand winger of last season. We didn't worry about having nobody to replace him. So I think it's a case of when the money's right, we're happy enough to sell whether we've got a replacement or not. And we didn't have a replacement for Nicholas Kuhn then, and we still don't have a replacement for him now. So fair play to James Forrest to step up and come in to fill that void. I think what you've seen on the other side on a number of occasions, and I think there's a relationship there that's obviously got a lot of development to go between Tierney and Maeda, but that'll come because Tierney's a world-class left back, and Dyson Maeda was the Footballer of the Year in Scotland last year, and them two, despite any language difficulties, they'll work that out. And it was already this week, it was better than last week. But what you've now got on that left-hand side and what you've seen with Tierney, and it comes to prominence today a wee bit more because his burst of pace and power ended up in a goal. But you've seen it last week as well. You've seen it where him and the fullback were both at a standing start, and he's got that pace and he's got the power to go by the last man, and that just completely strengthens that left-hand side because not only does the fullback have to worry about Dyson running mad, and he's still got to find his feet, by the way. You know, he's a couple of times today he looked like
he literally lost his key at one point and fell on his face.
The clumsy Dyson of yesteryear. But you've now got Kieran Tierney coming flying at you as well. And like I say, that first goal that got us a breakthrough today, up until we got the second goal, that was the only real moment of quality in the game that separated the sides. And you think of all the millions of pounds that have been spent on our team. I know we always want to spend more against what Aberdeen have got, but it took one moment of quality from a guy who probably shouldn't be playing at this level. He should be playing at a higher level. It took that one moment of quality for him. And it just shows you that the difference you get in a 500 grand player and a £5 million player, the difference is very, very small percentages. And unless you're bringing in loads of those players and that percentage, then, you know, that say you've got a left back who's 3% better than the other team's left back, that's not enough to win you the game. But you need those small percentage gains all over the park, and then, you know, you end up, your team's a level above the other team. But Tierney and Maeda is going to be a formidable partnership. Forrest will hopefully get replaced. There's something has to happen here. We can't place that burden of responsibility on James Forrest's shoulders at this stage in his career. He's done his bit. He's given his life to Celtic, and he's now in the stages. I think it was maybe not last season, but the season before he played very, very little. Or last season he didn't really play. It's kind of the last 2 years he's really only started playing round about February, March time. But now he's kind of been thrust in. He's been thrust in where we need him to play, and that's not fair on him. Not fair on him at this stage of his career. But what he doesn't have is what he did have in the early part of his career, is that burst of pace to go on the outside. He doesn't really have that in his locker anymore. He'll keep the ball, he'll protect it, he'll cut inside, and he'll recycle possession. And at the minute, we don't have anybody who can even do that on a regular, reliable basis. So that's why he's in. He's doing his best, and he's our best option. But if we come out of this window and he's still our best option, then there's a lot of people need to hang their heads in shame.
Oh, big time, big time. Reegan, let's talk about the opposition today and their game plan right off the bat. Seemed to be pretty obvious. It once again was all about physicality and trying to, rough us up a little bit. I mean, that boy, me and my dad have said this loads of time. Is it Nielsen, the defensive midfielder? He's not a footballer by any stretch. He is just a clogger. At one point, Chris Sutton called him a hatchet man. Says that's all he is. He's literally all he is. I remember the game last season where they got the 2-2 draw at Celtic Park, and he was just getting away with everything. And at times the Aberdeen were, but the winger, was it Keskinen, I believe it is, he was throwing himself about and trying to rough us up a wee bit. So early on, I say they did offset us a wee bit, trying to get settled into the game. But I think we started to stand up to it as a game. I know AJ was doing a bit of the old shithousery as well along the way, just sort of throwing it back at them. But yeah, to me, it sort of highlighted that, it's mad that this time last year, Aberdeen, the run they went on and the sort of threat they were. But I says their game plan was very much I think as Liam Greenlaw would say on a Friday night to me, agricultural at times today. And yeah, that really was a plan. Once we got on top of it, Reegan, we just controlled the game, mate.
Aberdeen didn't really offer too much, but I thought I slightly expected us to see after we got that first kind of the first kind of goal from Reegan. I thought we would kind of go in from there, but we didn't really go in for there. I was disappointed with in terms of trying to get into attacking areas and that. I mean, I thought Adamida was not great again. I thought Maeda didn't really offer too much either. And I mean, the Celtic board can talk about, okay, we've got Maeda and we've got Adamida, but I'm sorry, but if they guys get one bad injury, I just don't see where we were. I just don't see where we can really replace them with. I mean, I know we got the guy from Fulham on a 4-year contract, but that guy's been
nowhere near it.
He's been nowhere near the squad. We've got the Japanese forward as well. So I just feel like there's a bit of taking things for granted for the Celtic board, thinking we've got these players that can do it in the league, but I just feel like we need some backup players on the bench. I mean, even if you look at last year, see the strength and depth we had on the bench. I mean, it was so strong, but now it just feels as if we've not really got that now. I mean, I don't really see us being linked with many strikers either, and I find that strange because surely we've known for about a year that Kyogo's not going to be here, and they're still not replaced.
January left and we're now in August, and we're still waiting on that Kyogo replacement. I mean, if it is Adamida that they believe is the guy that's going to be the main man, Terry, you even said it in your opening gambit there, but what's the word you used? He's just rotten. What was it again you said? Or just
useless. You know you're going to have to sub him because he's useless here. I've heard about a false 9, about a centre forward, but a false face. He is scary, man. Scary.
Somebody tweeted today, it was a ridiculously good tweet, and it was Adamida chases his first touch like it was a Matena, and I thought it was pretty apt, to be honest, because see last week, and I said it in the post-match show I did to Liam, I thought he looked quite lively, even though the end product was still lacking last week. It looked like he was really trying to get in, maybe trying too hard. He didn't get his usual 60 minutes and then he gets subbed off. They kept him on for 76 minutes last week, but he was throwing himself in there. He was up for a bit of a battle with Gogic, but today, see that tweet was just magic, chasing his first touch like it was a Matena, because there was a few moments where you're trying to hope for him to hold it up and allow a runner to come into play and for the midfield, and it just bounces off him and whatnot. There was I'm sure there was one in the first half as well. Again, the way he just overran it. He controlled it initially, not too bad, and then his next touch to try and go on a run was just way too far in front of him. And I keep saying this. I want him to. We all want him to do well because we're all Celtic fans at the end of the day. And he gave me one of the best moments of my life with that cup final in 2024. So I've always got this thing where I want him to just just prove everybody wrong and just do well. But God, it's going to be a tough one. So Reegan's right in what he's saying. They need to be looking at another forward, especially with what Brendan said on Friday. I don't know if he's caught this with the pre-match press conference, but he was asked about why did you put on Johnny Kenny last week, and he gave a really snarky, arsey type of answer. Said something like, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm only allowed 11 players on the park at the time. And he said, I chose Johnny Kenny, just I felt it was the right move. And then he also said, and we scored in that time when he was on the park. Yeah, but he didn't score the goal, Brendan, because obviously people want to see what Shin Yamada was about. But I have a funny feeling Brendan's not that keen on Yamada at this time anyway. So, yeah, it's got to be another striker out there, Terry. We have to be looking at that one because, yeah, Onida's performance again today, 30 goals this season. I don't know, man. Don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, just to hammer home what you said there, everyone wants him to do well. I want him to do well. Yes. There is a player in there. There definitely is. I mean, if you go to that, probably, well, in his loan spell, that golden moment where he wins the cup for us. But there were other games. There was an away game at Motherwell where he came up trumps. There was an away game at Hibs where he took responsibility for the 2 penalties. There were key moments that really ended up winning him his deal. Mm-hmm. But last season, those moments were very few and far between. But you're probably looking at Villa away, which is probably one of the hardest games of our entire season last year, and that's the game that he impressed the most in. So there definitely is a footballer in there, but he just doesn't come out very often. It's like the kids are all calling around for their mate at the door, but he only comes out every now and again. But whenever he comes out, he's a decent enough player, but he doesn't show up very often. I thought Rodgers. I think that question that he was asked, I could be wrong on this. I think that was in the fan media section where somebody asked him about, and I get why you ask the question. I suppose this guy's been brought in. This is the only centre forward we've signed during the summer. Doesn't matter about the fee, but you're expecting to then get a look at him. And I think again, I didn't see the game against the Saudi team. And that's just reminded me, what are we, 28 minutes in. I was meant to do a shout out for Michael McCarran, who's a massive fan of the old bus and the new bus. He came up and introduced himself to me at the Tommy Burns musical night in Glengormley a couple of weeks ago before I went on holiday. Absolute gentleman, and big shout out to Michael, and hopefully he's on, and he watches the bus during the course of the season. But going back to Ida, I just don't know. I did expect him to start today because I don't think any of the other 2 guys are ready. I think Johnny Kenny will probably go out on loan because the chat was if we got him to sign an extension, we would put him out on loan. I felt after that question was asked and clearly irked Rodgers, I honestly didn't think he would bring Yamada on today before Johnny Kenny. I thought he would make a point of just bringing on Johnny Kenny and going, who are you to pipe up during the press conference? But he didn't. He brought him on. And to be honest, other than one sort of run down the left-hand side, didn't see a great deal, and very, very difficult to judge him. I don't know. I think we're short. I think we're short in that area. I don't see how you can go into. I don't even see how you can go into an SPL campaign without an upgrade at centre forward. I mean, if you think back to the Celtic teams all over the years, even when we were shite, we had a good centre forward, and I just don't. I haven't seen enough of Yamada to say whether he's the answer. My gut feel is he isn't. Johnny Kenny looks decent enough to a certain level. Ida's shown there's a player in there, but as I say, he doesn't come out to play very often. I think we need a Celtic level centre forward, and it's very difficult to see that happening over the next 3 weeks because we knew last summer Kyogo was gone. We let him go in January without bringing in anyone of anywhere near that level. We've now meandered through another window and it doesn't feel like we're any way close to getting anyone near at the level that we need. Now, obviously we had that sort of chase of Sveinsgarden. Whether we were ever interested in him or not, we'll not really know. I watched half an hour of him yesterday just because I was bored and there was very little else to do. And he didn't show a great deal playing in the Championship. Okay. Kyogo scored a wonder goal the night before, but it was
disallowed. Yeah.
Right. I don't know. I just want somebody to come in that position. Kyogo was a darling of the Celtic fans, but that was only because he was good, because he was very good. And all he wants is a striker that's good. Do you know what I mean? We're not asking for too much here, and you want a centre forward that's good, but where do you get one that we're prepared to put the investment into? It's going to be an interesting one. I mean, if Ida's our only option, if we go into the post window part of the season, and he's our number one striker, it's going to be a long season. And I know we're top. I know we're 4 points clear of the opposition, the main opposition. But like we've said so many times in this pod, we don't want to judge ourselves by the main opposition, which is Rangers, and we want to judge ourselves as the best possible team that we can be. And the manager used those words in his post-match today, and he used them on Friday when he caught a really, really frustrated figure. I mean, he was, and I think it's unfair because he keeps getting asked the questions about incoming players, and he couldn't be any more clear that he's not really involved in that part of the process. And something I would like to touch on just as a sort of sidestep, people keep referring back to Engels, Ida and Trusty as the three big Rodgers signings of last summer that haven't done enough. I don't think they were Rodgers signings just because we spent big money on them. Everybody's going, they're the Brendan Rodgers signings, and all the players that come in for very little money are nothing to do with him. I don't think there's such a thing. The only one that I think you can say was a Brendan Rodgers, there was two Brendan Rodgers signings. Kasper Schmeichel was one, and Nat Phillips was the other. One's been brilliant for us, one was pish. But if you're trying to tell me that Brendan Rodgers identified Arne Engels playing for a sort of middle to bottom team in Germany, and he identified him as the player he wanted to go into his midfield, I tell you you're a liar. And if you tell me Brendan Rodgers identified Austin Trusty as the guy he wanted to come in and partner Carter Vickers, I tell you you're a liar. Ida, Jim C is saying is a Rodgers signing. I don't know. I think there's an Irish link there, but I think however Ida came into the club, I think everyone, based on the key moments in that 6 months, everyone wanted him to come in. So we have to take a collective responsibility here. Everyone wanted to sign him after that. But just because money's been spent on a player, everybody's going, he's a Brendan player, and then the cheap ones are club players. I don't think Brendan's got very, very much input other than Nat Phillips and Schmeichel. There's none where I can clearly put his fingerprints on it. Just because there was big money spent, I still think Engels is one that has come through the club's recruitment process, and Trusty as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's well, in terms of your top his frustration. I noticed he was so frustrated today he didn't even wear his club tie. I think one of the commentators even picked up on that as well. Funny enough, there was people on Twitter reading into that, like some sort of body language experts were out again. Oh, he's not wearing the club tie. What does that mean? I just chose not to wear a tie for a change. But no, I understand what you're saying as well. But there is a real mystery around what a lot of things Brendan Rodgers has said and what we've seen play out in front of our eyes for the last 2.5 years. Remember when he initially came back and he talked about how he's happy with the system here, the recruitment system and whatnot, but then a lot of the signings that came in the last 2 and a bit years haven't really lasted that long. Said earlier on, look at the centre-backs, for example, Nawrocki and then Lagerbielke and now Trusty. He still goes to Liam Scales. So yeah, there is things that just don't quite compute there. In terms of like his what he's saying to what we're actually, you know, witnessing in front of our eyes. And yeah, there's a lot of he basically creates more questions than answers at times when he's answering a question. Somehow he manages to make it a bit more complex than what it needs to be. But Reegan, let's talk about the positives then today, about the goals. Say overall, I think we controlled the game pretty well. Aberdeen didn't threaten, but the goals themselves, let's talk about them. The Reegan goal, obviously, to open the scoring. It's all about Kieran Tierney in this one and what he does getting down that left-hand side. And again, we saw it last week, what Kieran Tierney brings getting forward. Remember when he was here the first time around, very much a fullback that likes to be on the front foot and get forward. He can put a great ball into the box. I know Liam's in the chat just now, but obviously his favourite player, the former left back. At times, Greg Taylor could get forward, but a lot of times it was all about playing the safe pass for him and, you know, maybe cutting inside and passing it sideways or passing it back the way. But Tierney's very much wants to get forward all the time. And you saw it today, just that drop of the shoulder, gets by the left winger for Aberdeen. And it's not even a high cross. It's just the perfect height. Reegan just gets in there. I think that boy Nelson tried to get to him to try and tackle him beforehand, but he got there first time. Just nice wee sort of volley. And first goal for the club. What was your overall impressions of, first of all, the goal and just Reegan's performance as well today, Reegan?
I thought the first goal was a great goal. It was a great ball in for Tierney, like you said, and then the Reegan tried really good for finish Spfl, but I think Nygren's the one big positive to this transfer window, because I think Brendan Rodgers clearly likes him as well, because a lot of people after the match were actually talking about that he's picking him over at Bernardo and Engels and people like that. So I think the midfield area is one area where we've got real strength and depth, and I think I think Nygren is done really well so far, and I think Tierney has just shown his quality. I think, like Terry said, he showed his quality last week against St Mirren, but then he showed that again today with a great ball in.
Yeah, he did. He certainly did. But see, that's what you get with Kieran Tierney. We knew what we were getting there. And I say the last week there was a few moments he put in some great crosses. Even in one of the games in pre-season, even though we got absolutely leathered off Ajax, the setup that he played for Hatate to score, wasn't it, that day? Was Hatate that scored against Ajax? I know we get leathered 5-1 in that game, but it was Kieran Tierney's first time pass, just a great zipped through ball, and it was we got the goal through that. So yeah, he's going to bring a lot, other than just defensive qualities, attacking qualities as well. Because Celtic, for as long as I can remember, have always been known for their fullbacks getting forward and joining the attack, very much prioritising wide play. So other than your actual wide midfielders and wingers, you also got the fullbacks get forward as well. So Tierney, fantastic. And of course, to say his involvement in the goal to set up Reegan, great finish. And Benjamin Reegan off to the races. Before I get your opinions on Reegan as well, Ryan M's asking why it's so hard to join memberships on YouTube. There should be a join button below the screen, but it depends on what I think you're watching on, Ryan. Because if you're watching through a computer, I know when I go onto YouTube through like whatever browser, Google Chrome or whatever, on my regular computer, it's usually there. But if you're watching on a phone or a tablet, it might be different. It might depend on what browser you're using, but it is there somewhere, because a few people have obviously got the memberships now. But yeah, I remember on the Bhoys bus as well, this being a thing as well, when we first launched them, a lot of people were like, where do you find the join button? And I think it came down to if you're watching on an iPhone, you watched it on an Android, there was differences in that. So I'm not quite 100% sure on where it'll be hidden, but it will be there somewhere, Ryan. The memberships are definitely working, mate. And we appreciate it, man, if you're willing to take one up. But Terry, in terms of Benjamin Reegan, obviously he's getting the nod right now over Engels, and rightfully so. Arnie Engels, despite the price tag, has to, for me, earn this place. He did show last season there were some flashes, moments where you go, right, you can see there is a quality player there, but his confidence, I think he's also a confidence player, and at times last season it was obviously on the floor after some of his performances. But Benjamin Reegan's came in. He's currently the guy that Brendan's having in there in that position in the middle of the park alongside Hatate, who right now I think is also looking very, very sharp. And obviously McGregor's going to play being the captain. But what have you made so far then, Benjamin Reegan, and obviously his goal today?
Yeah, I think I said in one of the friendly games that you and I did, probably the only friendly game that we did, that people were talking about him as if they expected big things from him. And I think it goes back to what I said earlier. It's quality. Even though he only cost $1.5 million, you got the feeling he was going to be the type of quality player that would come into the team and make a difference. And it seems in the early stages of the season that he's now a first pick or as good as. And I think if you look at the key moments in today's game, which are the 2 goals, if Kieran Tierney assist for Negrin. I know I called him Negrin earlier. I'll call him. I'll just call him
as well. Funny enough,
you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Tierney with an assist for Negrin, and then Negrin with an assist for Hatate. Total spend £3 million. So when we're talking about not enough activity in the transfer market, and I think Celtic fans, what we get hit with quite a lot is we can't go out and sign £15 million players, and we can't go out and do this, and we can't go out and do that, and that's all right. That's fine. We're not asking for that. All we're asking is that we bring in the best players that we can possibly get, and we bring in players that are better than the ones that we've already got. And if you look again at those 3 moments, which won today's game, that was a total outlay of £3 million. Now I know Tierney's an outlier, but it is what it is. He's a £50 million player that we got in for free because he supported Celtic. But the actual facts of the matter is those 3 players cost us $3 million, or 3.2 if you want to be a bit more precise. Hatate, Negrin and Tierney. And all we want is quality players being brought in that are better than the ones that we've already got. So there seems to be this sort of misconception that we're demanding that Celtic go out and spend stupid money. That's not the case. You just want to know that the players that you're bringing in some of the players you're bringing in are ready to go into that first team. And there just hasn't been enough of that this summer when you consider the ones that have gone out. I mean, in an ideal world, you would retain all your best players, and you'd probably bring in 2 or 3 upgrades every single year. But that's never going to be the case at Celtic, because you're going to lose first-team players. They need to be replaced, and then you want more on top of that. And I think that's important, because I think the guys that are asking for more activity are criticised for being unrealistic. It doesn't, I'm not saying we need to go and spend 15 million on a centre forward that's better than Ida. No, we need to go and find a centre forward that's better than Ida, and whatever he costs, we have to go and pay it. And I think the main frustration for me and for a lot of people is that it's a small club mentality in the transfer market. We look to me as if we're a multi-millionaire shopping at a car boot sale, trying to get a bargain that somebody else has undervalued. And what big clubs do, they just go, they identify the player they want, and they just get the deal done with the minimum of fuss. If you look at Liverpool, for example, who won the EPL last season, they've gone out this summer and they've signed the guy Wirtz. They identified him as their top target. He is our number 1 target. He's the guy we want to get. Have they overpaid for him? Probably. But did they just go in, find out how much was needed to get that deal done without Real Madrid getting involved, without Barcelona getting involved, without Man City getting involved? What's it going to take for us to get him? Fee agreed, pay it. They done it at the start of the window. Did they overpay? Probably. But that was the guy they wanted. And Celtic never seemed to do that. They never seemed to identify the guy that the manager, the recruitment team, we want him and we're going to go and get him before anyone else gets him. No, we're the billionaire scratching around the car boot sale looking for a bargain that somebody else doesn't realise the value of what they've got, and they're prepared to undersell it. And that's not really where we want to be. Yes, I know that approach has led to us being in the cash-rich situation that we're in. But you can't just keep going like that. You know, you've got to be a football club first and a business second. And if there's a player that you want and he is the one, so what if you pay 2 million, 3 million more just to get the deal done before anybody else goes in and snipes him? And you see the big clubs do that all the time. The really, really big clubs, they do that. They overpay. You're going, oh, that fee's a bit big, but. And I know it's relative speaking in terms of the financial situation, but Liverpool could probably have got Wirtz for 80 million, and they've gone in and probably paid a 30% premium on top just to get it done, because that's the guy that the collective manager, recruitment team, future planning, looking to replace Salah he's maybe going to be on the wane in the next 2 years, and then they'd replaced in 2 years. And you're thinking ahead, you're planning ahead, and you're looking for a guy for now and a guy for the future. And if you pay a 30% upgrade, then so be it. And I think I spoke on Steve's show as well a few weeks ago. It's like, if we try to make it relative to the normal man on the street, you go to look at a house and you find a house and you think, yeah, I could live here, not bad. If I'm getting it at a knockdown price, I'll take it. But then you see the one and you know that's the one for you. And you say, right, I want this house. And you go and speak to the owner and you say, how much do you need to take this house off the market? This is the one I want. And you get that price and you decide whether to meet it or not. You know you're maybe overpaying, but it's also the one that's going to make you happy. It's the one that's going to give you what you need for you and your family. And you go and you buy it. And you stop dicking about, looking for bargains and looking for value and always trying to have an upside in every single deal. There has to be deals where you won't get an upside. There has to be deals that you will lose out financially, but it benefits the team because this player is key to what the manager of this club is trying to achieve, to what fits in with the skill set of the players that are already there. And that doesn't seem to be the case with Celtic. It seems to be we're just always scratching around for that bargain, and then it's throw them all at the manager, and then up to you, elite manager. It's up to you, elite coach, because you're not involved in bringing players in. It's up to you, elite coach, to fit those in and make it all work, rather than let's have a collective identification of what we think we need. And he really, just to really spell it out today, he turned around and he goes, we all know what we need to do in the forward areas. So he's going to step forward, further, because last week it was, we know what we need to do. Today it was, we know what we need to do in the forward areas. So he's really spelling it out for them. But it just feels very, very disjointed that, you know, he's having to stand there in a media scenario and tell the guys, the powers that be, what he wants. That should be happening internally without a microphone, without video cameras. There's a serious disconnect there, and I don't know. We can only surmise because we're nowhere near close enough to what's going on. But there generally has been a feeling since Rodgers came in this time that the guys who he would be working with wouldn't have wanted him, but Desmond has made it happen. And then he's just thrown them in together and he's headed off to play golf, and he's just left that to, and from the outside looking in, with the success that we've had, it seems to be ticking over okay, but it just always feels like a time bomb, and it kind of feels like there's animosity in there. There's almost a desire from the guys above Brendan for him not to succeed, or some way to be able to say, it's on you now, Rodgers. You go and make that happen, and that's not right. And if
it's PTSD, Terry, is what it is, because it happened a few years ago when Brendan left the first time. It's always in the back of our heads.
But you can see now, Phil, if that's what he's coming up against now, when he's already come back, I mean, he must have been given assurances when he came back. Who gave him those assurances? Yeah. Was it Desmond? Was it Nicholson? I won't even put Lowell in there because I'm I'm willing naively to believe that he's on the periphery, although I think he casts a serious shadow. And I think people who used to work with him in his previous role are probably influenced just by that shadow being there. And they're maybe trying to make decisions influenced by the shadow rather than what decisions they would have made if that shadow wasn't there. But it just feels like it's not joined up in any way, shape, or form. And Sutton's column yesterday in the record was probably very, very accurate. And the manager's going to come out of this. I think he's going to come out of this smelling the roses, because if he does go at the end of this 3 years, he's already sown the seeds. He's already said he wants to be here. He wants to be here beyond the end of this season. He's made that clear. But he isn't here to maintain. He's here to give the best version of Celtic. And if he doesn't feel that the rest of the people at the top are doing that, then he's gone. He's not the manager for Celtic. That's what he said. Yeah. And see the comment that came up there around Maloney. I'm very, very frightful of why Sean Maloney is in.
Yep.
You know, he's come in. He's come in as to try and make it real life. He's come in as the guy that's making the tea whenever he's fit to run the office. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, are you going, Reegan?
See, it's just to go on Terry's point. Actually, I feel a bit sorry for Brendan Rodgers, because Brendan Rodgers has actually said, right, well, like he wants the best for Celtic, and the board are just no matches his ambition to be able to do that. I mean, Brendan Rodgers told us last week they wanted wingers. He told us they wanted to stay. Surely, if the board wanted Brendan Rodgers to say, they would go, right, I'll be able to bring in 2 wingers and I'll bring in a striker in. I just don't understand why Brendan Rodgers is spelling out for the board. He's spelling out, and he's telling every single fan. That's where Brendan Rodgers is saying, well, if I don't stay this time, don't get angry at me, get angry at the board for not backing me. And I think that's what the point they made, because I think far too many people got too angry with Brendan Rodgers the last time. Because see, when you look back at it, you go, Brendan Rodgers wanted to succeed at Celtic, but obviously he didn't see the ambition. And then maybe this time he's been sold the dream to go, right, this is going to be different this time. And then now he's looked under the car bonnet, and the car bonnet's still saying that Peter Lawwell and the people are still there. And I think the problem for him is I think he's got the ambition to want to push it forward.
He definitely has. Yeah, you could tell he does, Reegan, 100%.
And I think it's a bit of a shame, to be honest, because I think he's sending out all the positive signals, but I think, like Terry said before, I think there's only so much he can really do.
Yeah. It's overall the point that Terry made there, like the speculate accumulate thing in Vane's so true. I don't know if you saw this, but Friday night, me and Liam were on and we're talking about the link to this Jacob Broom, however it's pronounced, the boy from Go Ahead Eagles. So there's a story doing the rounds that apparently in a year's time, some sort of clause in his contract means he'll be worth $2 million. And there's this theory going around that Celtic, that's why they're going in with such low bids, because they know they can get him for a year and in a year's time for $2 million. It's like, yeah, but what if he has a really good year over the next year, and this time next summer there's like 5 or 6 clubs looking at him? It's like, if you know that you want this guy now, you've identified it, like you talked about the house thing there, Terry, with the analogy. If they've identified this guy Jacob Broom as the one that they want, and it's going to cost him 4 or 5 million, why wait? You just pay it now, speculate, accumulate. Because I say he could have a blinding year, and there could be 5 or 6 teams from better leagues than what we play in looking at him this time next year. So it's like, just go and do it. So fine, when you're hearing stories like that, you're like, what is the strategy? What is going on here? So that one, I've heard that story a couple of times now about the weird $2 million clause. I don't know how that's a thing in a contract. But anyway, that's apparently the story doing the rounds. I'm just like, no, like if it's only going to be about 4 million, 5 million, and you've got it, Celtic have clearly got the money. We know that. And you want this guy, do it. Go for him now. But yeah, it just
see that one, Phil.
Yeah.
That one's weird because the club that he's with said they wanted 5, and then I think they moved the goalpost to 6 or 6.5 or something. And Celtic went in with, was it 1.5, and then they increased it to 1.75. If Celtic actually think he's only worth 1.75, then my question would be, why the fuck are we looking at this guy? Do you know what I mean? why are we looking? If we think he's only worth 1.75 million in 2025, why the fuck are we looking at him? Why are we even there? And the interesting one with this, and it's obviously growing arms and legs with the guy that signed for Rangers there. What's his name? Spider-Man or something?
Ant-Man. Yeah. Oliver Ant-Man.
Spider-Man that signed for Rangers, and then the very professional director of Go Ahead Eagles then came out on the club's social media and taunted Celtic for not behaving like their city rivals and going out and getting the deal done. But anyway,
we're not behaving like them as well in the sense that we can win games and they can't. So there is that too, I suppose.
I know. Here's the thing as well, Phil. Their start to the season, whilst it's great for us to have a bit of a giggle and all that, and I'm a wee bit torn. I think, and I don't want to make this anything to do with Rangers. I think Russell Martin does have good philosophies on football, but I don't know if they're transferable into Rangers. But my overall gut feel is he will be seen by their supporters as another Michael Beale. Mm-hmm. As in, he comes out in interviews, he says all the right things, but the evidence doesn't back it up. And like ourselves, Rangers fans are a very fickle bunch. Last Saturday, they were irate. Then one performance during the week, and they were going to go the season unbeaten. Then they played Dundee yesterday, and they're crap again. And there doesn't seem to be any change. It doesn't seem to matter if it's Gio, Michael Beale, Clement, or now Russell Martin. There just seems to be some kind of weird thing going on over there where they can play well in Europe and they can't do the bread and butter in the SPL. Now, the games are totally different, and here's why I think they've been successful against us is like the European games. The teams that they're coming up against are of a comparable level and will come out and try to take the game to them. And the guys that Russell Martin has signed, the two guys that have been, the main guy that's been impressive so far is the guy on the left, Gassama, and Spider-Man, Ant-Man, whatever his name is, on the right-hand side came in and did really well against Pilsen. I think that's where they could possibly cause us and other teams' problems is where we're taking the game to them, we're overcommitting, we're pushing fullbacks forward and things, and they're hitting on the counter-attack. And I think that's the thing. Celtic have come up against this so many times as well, where you've got to find a way to try and break through two banks of five. And pace isn't going to be the answer, because if you've got two banks of five sitting really, really low and deep, pace doesn't matter, because you're going to run out of the pitch, because the guys are the defense is so deep. But where pace really makes a difference is where teams are attacking you go in the turnover and you then hit them on the counter. And I think that's where they're going to become dangerous, and I think we need to be a bit more savvy. And there's a scenario here which I think needs to be looked at as well. We're 4 points clear of Rangers right now. We've made the absolute right decision in playing that Livingston game, by the way.
100%, yes.
We win that. Now, I'm not taking it that we will win it. We should win it. We go 7 clear. They don't play because they're through. Let's face it, they're through. That Pilsen team was absolute dog meat. That was the best draw they could possibly have got. Either that team or Servette. Now, fingers crossed, they're going to play Bruges in the final round. And do you know what? See, if they beat Bruges over 2 legs, they deserve to be in the Champions League. That's my take on it. That Bruges is a quality team. And if Rangers beat them over 2 games, then do you know what? Fair fucks to them. That would be a great achievement for those new owners coming in. They wouldn't have been expecting to get into the Champions League. The draw worked out in their favour. They beat Panathinaikos. I watched both games. Again, starved of football content.
That's what you're reduced to? Okay.
Well, no, it's always good to keep an eye on the opposition as well. Do you know what I mean? And people keep telling me they're coming, and I just want to keep watching in case I can see them.
Keep an eye
against Panathinaikos, they were second best over both games, but they got through. Panathinaikos were really, really wasteful at Ibrox. Then their best player gets sent off and all the rest. But Rangers are now in. They're going to be into a situation where they've got a one-off 2-leg match. What am I talking about? A 2-off match against hopefully Bruges, because I think Bruges are better than Salzburg, and it looks as if they've got the upper hand. But if they come through that tie against a very, very good Bruges team, then fair play to them. They're 40 million. They're 40 million up, and it's a great start for the new American owners. Now, obviously, coefficient aside, I don't really want them getting that money, because I don't think they'll be as frugal as our board, and I think they'll reinvest that 40 million into the team, which obviously makes our chances of continuing our dominance slightly less, should I say.
Yeah.
But going away from them, going back to that, what I was talking about was Martin has brought in players with pace in the wide areas, which is going to be great if you're playing in Europe where teams are coming out and attacking you, or it's going to be great when you're playing against Celtic, and Celtic have got most of the ball and are building up all the player, committing the fullbacks forward, and you can then hit them on the counter. But that doesn't necessarily get you through against 2 banks of 5 at home against Dundee.
Yeah.
I don't even want to put Motherwell into that, because Motherwell played really, really well against them. And the thing about those 2 games is Motherwell had their by far best player not available to them because he's getting transferred to Italy. And Dundee had by a million miles their best player not available to them. I don't know what was wrong with him. The guy up front, what's his name? Simon Murray?
Simon Murray,
He wasn't available to Dundee yesterday. But you've got to try and find another way, and that way is through creative players that can take the ball under pressure and make quick, efficient passes. And that's where the likes of your Negrin and your Hitati come into play.
Yeah,
guys who are inventive and can break those 2 lines of 5. And I'm not sure the type of team that Russell Martin's building at Rangers is built to overcome the challenges that you're going to face week in, week out in Scotland. Whereas I think Celtic's team, whilst there's still a lot of work needs to be done, certainly for Europe, the likes of Negrin there coming in, you can see it straight away. His numbers before he came in were really, really good. But you've got to remember as well, Lewis Palmer's numbers were really, really good. And you just never got the feeling that was going to work for him. But this guy just feels different. You just got to feel very, very early that he was a Celtic player and he was a guy that was going to be able to. I think there'll be loads of times this season where Benjamin Negrin is the player that either breaks the deadlock or he's got the vital assist in getting the deadlock. Tight games where you're up against it. You know, today was Aberdeen away. It could be Hearts away. It could be Dundee United away. It could be Hibs away. And Benjamin Negrin's going to come up with loads and loads of key moments. I don't know what the first question was there, but that's where we've ended up.
It's all right. No, but overall, I made a clip about Rangers, obviously the win, but ultimately we can have a bit of a giggle about it. Ant-Man and Spider-Man, we can have a giggle about it and whatnot. But I did say after the result last week, I said to Liam on the post-match show, keep in mind a few years ago, Ange Postecoglou lost 3 out of the first 6 games and then drew the 7th game, and we looked like a bit of a mess at that point, and then we got it together. We still ended up winning the league and the League Cup that season. So right now,
the win Janssen season, we
lost the first 2 games. We did. Hibs and Dunfermline beat us.
There's a wee boy. See that we Gassama, he looks like a live wire now. I think he got very lucky yesterday because I think he simulated to get that penalty. And what do you call your man? He usually referees our games.
It was Don Robertson that was the referee yesterday for him. And for us last
he referees 3/4 of our games, but I didn't see it being overturned because I think it was subjective. But that was never a penalty, never in a million years a penalty. And I don't want to go into getting frustrations over referees and stuff like that. But how when you've got VAR can that be a penalty? It just can't be a penalty.
Well, the referee,
we're going to see that quite a bit with him because he is a live wire. He's very, very quick. He's very, very tricky. I think he'll win a lot of free kicks and penalties. But I think Rangers have got a crack on wee player on their books, the wee Scottish lad, and Finlay Curtis. Curtis, he looks superb.
Now, let's hope that because as you say, they've cancelled their game next week, so there is a chance for us to go to Ibrox.
I think that's an own goal. I really think that's an own goal.
If we were to win at Ibrox, if we managed to do it, it would be 10 points in front.
That's where the conversation started. That's where it started. We're back there.
Their game that they have cancelled is St Mirren and Paisley, which is never it's not been a good place for them to go in recent years. No. That game could be a midweek in the cold of December or something like that. So you just don't know where that game's going to land. So it could be a massive goal. You're right.
I think it's penciled in already for somewhere in September.
Is it okay? Sure. So there's a gap.
I'm not sure where. No, I don't know if there's a gap. I don't know if there's a gap or it's an international. I don't know where it's getting placed in, but I think it's penciled in for September. But you could in theory come out of August 10 points clear, which would be absolutely ridiculous. Do you know what I mean?
Remember we beat them at Ibrox 2 years ago, and we were 5 points in front after that, and the fans were just giving it to Michael Beale. Remember the players were going round, fans, and they were just losing the rag. So, but they say that's in a few weeks' time. So hopefully,
was that the Kyogo goal?
That was Kyogo, the one that Matt Riley headed in, and he sort of volleyed it outside the area, and Butland just got caught out by it. It was that game. What
I'm thinking now, Phil, is there's nobody in that team can give you that moment of quality just like that. You can never see a scenario where Edis scores a goal like that where the odds are completely against him, and he just produces a moment of absolute stunning quality, and that's what we're missing. Kyogo, he's now at the level that he's playing at. I think he's far too good for that level. We need to find somebody who can just win you matches where you maybe wouldn't otherwise win them, and that's your centre forward. That's a centre forward, a quality centre forward who scores goals where you're unlikely to score them because he's so good. And Ada's not that guy, and I'd be surprised if any of the guys below him are. I hope they are. I mean, I think Johnny Kenny is a good finisher. I think if he played every single game from the start and played 90 minutes, I think he'd be the top scorer in the SPL because he is a finisher. He's done it at Europa Conference level. I genuinely think he could be the top scorer in the league if he played every game. Shin, today was the first I've seen of him, so I can't make any judgment of him. Callum Osmond, again, I've not seen anything, but I've seen enough of Ida to know that he's not going to give you those moments, those absolute moments of quality that Kyogo gave you where you just didn't expect to score, but the ball ended up in the net because he was so good. He ain't going to give you those. It's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very difficult for us to find somebody who can give you that. And you know, I watched the guy's feast garden yesterday, and he was
up to much then.
He was anonymous. Probably the only other name that's been mentioned with is really Strelic, and
maybe come up against him in a couple of weeks if that's.
Do we sign him? Do we sign him just to nullify the biggest threat against us?
Oh God!
The only other real centre forward of any note that's been mentioned is a guy from Romania, and again.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Aye. No, it's definitely a priority for me between now and the end of the window. But
would you bring in Phil? Would you be happy with a loan signing either a loan signing to come in to replace Jota and release Dizan into the middle. I'd be happy going into the season with Dizan as number 1, Ida as number 2, and Yamada / Kenny as number 3, and Osmond as 4. I'd be happy with that if we had an absolute nailed-on quality left winger who's going to replace Maida on the left. I'd be happy to go into the season with Maida as the main man. But would you then be happy with either an EPL quality cast-off loan signing as left winger to release Maida, or an EPL cast-off loan signing quality to replace Ida as centre forward? At this stage, I'd be happy to take a loan signing.
I always have the same mentality with loan, as long as we've got some kind of option to buy. That's always my sort of mentality. If it works out well, then we can.
As long as he's better than Ida.
Yeah. As long as he's that. Yeah, definitely.
And see at the back, I honestly expect Pusey to come in and be first choice. I genuinely do. My only concern is I think he favours the right hand side slightly, which is where Carter Vickers has always been positioned, and guys like Starfelt, who I was a critic of, they've had to adjust because Carter Vickers he won't move. He can't move. He's stuck there. He's stuck on the right hand side. But I expect this lad Pusey I expect him to go in. I think he's going to be a similar sort of level to
Denier.
No. I think Denier's the easy link, obviously.
It's an easy comparison.
Man City, dreadlocks, all the rest. It's the easy one. I'll go Ayer. I expect him to be similar to Ayer in terms of, I think his ability on the ball will be at a level above what we've got. And I include Carter Vickers in this. His ability carrying the ball and coming out of defence, I think he will be better than Carter Vickers. I think he'll be better than Scales and Trusty. I think he'll be quite similar to Chris Ayer in terms of he can pick up the ball in the edge of his own box and he can carry it. And do you know what? See if they keep backing off, he can carry it right up to the 18. And I think what happens is Trusty and Scales get the ball, they'll carry it so far, but when they get to the halfway line, they start to shit themselves. And Scales was disappointing today because I thought he was very, very wasteful with the ball. He was given. There was so many times where the easy pass, he just didn't make the connection. Now, today's one game, and Liam Scales has been absolutely superb for Celtic, and what a quality signing. Again, it's going back to them small percentages. You sign a player for 600 grand and you sign one for 6 million, and there's absolutely no difference between them. There's not even a percentage. There's not even 1%. You could argue either way. Scales is better than Trusty. Trusty's better than Scales. Brendan Rodgers thinks Scales is the better player out of the two. So there you go on that. But I fully expect Pusey to come in, and by the end of September, I'd expect him to be first choice. I think when Carter Vickers is injured, which he will definitely be, Pusey will play on the right-hand side. But when Carter Vickers is fit, I expect Pusey to come in and play on the left-hand side. I think he'll be at the level where he comes in and plays. I think we've been calling out to try and get someone like Carter Vickers on the other side, and I genuinely feel it's very, very difficult for us to go out and sign somebody as good as Carter Vickers on a permanent. But you have to remember his journey. He was out on loan for about 6 or 7 seasons from from Spurs. Like he was just herd out to every fucking team in the Championship and all the rest. Like he was never going to make it at Spurs, but they kept re-signing him and they kept loaning him out. I think we've just got this guy Pusey at the start of that journey where he probably won't ever be good enough to get into Man City's first team. But they'll loan him out here, they'll loan him out there, and then they'll sell him for 10 million or something. Do you know what I mean?
Just as they did to Patrick Roberts. Patrick Roberts has been on about 6 different teams since leaving us. But Reegan, you said about Simpson Pusey, I was going to try and pronounce that right. You told me he was like EPL 2 Player of the Year or something like that last year, wasn't he?
I was.
That's quite encouraging, I guess.
Well, Callum Osmond was on the short list as well.
So he was. I would have been up against Simpson Pusey actually, because I imagine if Man City and Fulham's B teams played each other, it would have been they two up against each other. But Reegan, there's something I want to pick up on that Terry brought up about players that can just do something. I know we brought up the Kyogo goal from a couple of years ago at Ibrox. The second goal today was out of nowhere. Now, how often do you find yourself saying, I just wish to God somebody in a Celtic shirt would shoot from outside the area? The amount of times that it opens up and it's just like pass, pass, pass. I don't know about you two guys, but I was getting at half-time, 1-0. We're relatively in control of the game. It's not a spectacular game, but Aberdeen aren't really troubling us. I was getting flashbacks of the cup final because there was a similar vibe there. 1-0 at half-time. Aberdeen weren't really doing anything. We were not really going up the gears, but we were in control of the game. We never pushed on for that second goal. And of course, what happened at the end of the cup final, they got the late equaliser and the rest was history. But today, Reegan, we had that guy who did get that second goal, and I say, what a goal. I say, just play, just shoot from outside the area. That's all I ask from time to time. And Rio Hatate, as I like to say, a thunder bastard of the highest order. When you see from behind, there was even similarities to a goal he scored against Rangers a couple of years ago when he first came into the club. Although it was a bit higher up this time. But when you see the bend of it, it was that sort of similar trajectory. But even it's off the crossbar on the way in, just for extra points. But yeah, what a goal from Rio Hatate. And he's looking sharp this season. Rio's always one Reegan that's got a few question marks over him. Is he fully motivated? Is he always looking for his next move? I think Rio Hatate's looking pretty dialed in right now.
Yeah, I think he's wanting to be here, and I think Brendan Rodgers has told him, like, I'm going to be here one more year. Can you stay one more year? And I think he's a little bit disappointed because he missed maybe the last 5 to 10 games of the season because of that. He got a bad injury, remember? He got a bad injury.
Yeah.
And he missed the final as well. So I think it was a great goal. Phil, I think you summed it up well there when you called that a flunder bastard.
Yeah.
I think he's a great way of talking about it. And I think he's one of these players that I think he's part of the reason why people like us still buy a season ticket, because he's a player that can really get you off your seat and really enjoy watching him, because like I'll never understand the criticism of him. I think everybody's going to go through a bad period in games. So I think he's been really good if you look at his overall contributions in terms of then see the amount of times that he plays the perfect pass, or he scores the perfect goal. I mean, I think he's been so good for Celtic, so I'm just hoping that he can stay fit this season and really stay as part of the team, because I think he is so important. And I think Brendan Rodgers has told him, look, you're going to be a big part of this team as well. And I know that we underplay it, but I mean, if he can showcase himself on the Champions League stage again, I know that he could probably go down to Brighton or, I don't know, Bournemouth down in the Premier League. But I mean,
go down with Ryan Christie, go join him at Bournemouth. I
mean, if you'd rather do that than play rugby, because remember Ryan Christie used to put a
guy over the bar.
So I think in terms of that, I think I'd rather play with Celtic than play with Bournemouth. But I mean, I think Rio Hatate showed again today his quality and showed that he's got some strike as well.
Oh, I'd say absolute top draw strike. And the only thing I would say about Hatate at times, I've said this about Engels, funny enough, when it comes to set pieces, it always feels like he's on a different page from the rest of the team. I saw it a few times today with Hatate. He also always try to play that quick and risky pass, and it feels like all the other players around him are never ready for it. It's like he's always looking to get a quick pass away. There was a few attempts today. There's one in the first half, I remember. I think it was Forrest and Johnston on the right. One of them had played it into him, and right away he releases a pass into the channel. And it's like, you can clearly see that neither of those players have made that run. They'll do well to catch that. So at times he slowed down just a little bit, but that is his style. That is how he likes to play. It's all about taking the risks and obviously the going for the quick pass and keep the play moving as fast as possible. And when it does come off, there's very few who are better in this league than him. And yeah, I say he looks like he started the season looking pretty sharp. And another thing as well, Reegan, I want you to get your crystal ball out as well, like you did this time last year, where you predicted Adamida's signings. I want you to do this because there are a couple of comments that I started earlier on about a couple of other midfielders. I want you to predict, Reegan, where you think how their season's going to go and where do you think, there we go, because Randy Staunton has said Arnie Engels needs competition with Lee Grinnell doing wonders. So will Engels push on? And the other one is Alfred has said, what's happened to Bernardo? He's fallen off the planet, to which AR quite harshly has summed up with, Bernardo has set himself up as a James McCarthy tribute act. Oh, that's a bit of a shame. Poor Bernardo, James McCarthy tribute act. So, Engels and Bernardo, what did your crystal ball tell you this season for they two, Reegan?
I think they'll still play a lot. They'll play a lot of times. I think Bernardo's been a bit harshly treated because I quite liked him when he came in. I remember me, you and David doing shows hoping that Bernardo would sign last summer. So I'm hoping that he played more games. I remember he scored that Thunder bastard of a goal against Rangers. So I mean, hopefully he can do well. But I think in terms of see Arnie Engels, Phil, I think he's going to go to a totally different level this season.
All right, okay, good. I'm encouraged.
Because I said earlier to someone else that I feel like Nigel's a bit like Tom Rogic, where I don't think he'll play every minute, every game, but I think he'll contribute a lot. But I think Engels will do really well. And I think sometimes when you see that player that's got your place, hopefully that will drive him on to do even better.
Yeah, you'd like to think so. Competition is, you need it in a team. You need it can be a healthy thing for the team. You don't need players that go on a sulk. You need players to be driven on.
So that's where I'm interested because how can we have so many midfielders, but then we've only got two strikers?
I know. That's this thing we're so lacking in that area. But as Terry said earlier on, Brendan is signposting it about the forward areas and whatnot. So he knows what we need. The fans can see what we need as well. Just up to the beaks upstairs to if they know what we need and can get it done before Thursday. It's a big order for the European squad registration. But before the end of the transfer window, I'm still quite confident that we'll bring in players there, but again that European fixture, it comes before the end of the transfer window. That is the worry. That is the thing that bothers me.
Phil, I think you put that out of your head. That deadline means nothing. If we wanted players in to influence that game, we needed them in for first day of pre-season. That deadline means absolutely nothing. The business should have been done much, much earlier than this. If anybody's working to that as a deadline, then they're not doing their job properly. You can't bring a player in and expect them to move probably country, house, home, family, everything, and then go into a game 24 hours later or 40 hours later and perform to his optimum. That's just nonsense. Sometimes it can work out. A player's high on adrenaline and he has a good game. But more times than not, players need time to settle in and embed themselves into the team. The manager will know that, but some dickhead with a suit on won't fucking have a clue. Like, I think as long as I get this player in like 2 minutes before the game's about to kick off, then I've done my job. It's a load of pish. My overriding aim for this season, other than to be successful, is, take away the frustration of the transfer market. And Brendan Rodgers, to his credit, has tried to focus his interviews on what he can control and the players we have here now. And my job's to make the best of what we've got. And I think that is really apt on two fronts, because I genuinely don't think he's involved in any way on transfers. He made it clear that he isn't involved in the deals. I think he's got minimal involvement in the identification. Yes, I think he gets the sign off, but he's probably brought into a room and showed a highlight reel of some player and goes, do you think he would do? Could you work with him? And he, in most cases, when you're presented with the optics of a guy scoring every single goal that he's ever scored and none of his bad moments, you just go, yeah, well, sure, nobody else is coming in, I might as well take a chance on him. But I think what Rodgers is good at, he's good at taking responsibility for making the best of what he's got. And I think in terms of the Champions League tie, no matter which of those two teams we play, he is hell-bent on making the best of the players that are there. And I think to his credit, whilst I said he came over very, very frustrated figure in the press conference on Friday, I think where he does look quite at home and relaxed is in the environment of the 90 minutes and the 15 minutes after that, when he's having to do a press conference after a match that he's been involved in and the team have worked to his instructions and he's asked to comment on that game. I think where he looks really uncomfortable is where he's asked questions about something that he doesn't have control of, which is incoming signings. So I think there was a stark difference in his demeanour on Friday against his demeanour on Sunday when he's talking about a game where he's in control of what happens in that match. But the whole press conference on Friday was just bang, 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 fucking regurgitation of stupid questions about transfers when he's already answered it once, saying, I'm not involved. I don't know what's happening. I don't do the deals. And then they just keep asking him the same question over and over. Like some dickheads just come in and he's got the same question as the guy before and the guy before, and he doesn't have the ability to change his question. He just fucking asks the same thing, even though it's the same as what the guy 5 turns in front of him asked. And then Rodgers just gets more frustrated and more frustrated, and then he cuts a forlorn figure, and you're starting to worry about his mental health after the same question's been asked a few times. But he looks more comfortable in the game environment around the match. I think that's where he's got his comfort zone, is match day. I'm in charge, setting my team up, getting the job done. I'll answer any questions about that match. Absolutely no problem at all. I'm in control of all that. If you ask me about something that belongs to a different department, I can't answer that because I'm not involved in that to the level where I can tell you what's going on. But what I want to see this season, Phil, obviously want to see us be successful, and results dictate everything. I mean, that result today, as much as we were in total control, it was 2 moments of absolute quality from 3 quality players: Tierney, Reegan, Hatate. But what I want to see is, as opposed to last season where I think we absolutely dominated games possession-wise, but we didn't really have a massive cutting edge. And last Sunday was probably the epitome against St Mirren. We'd all the ball, we'd all the possession, but we'd no cutting edge. And at times I felt myself thinking, this is a bit boring. What I want to see is not just possession with intent to supply. Possession with intent to supply goals. If you ever watch any of the crime films that I watch all the time, or crime series, they don't want to get the criminal just on possession. They want to get him on possession with intent to supply. And that's what I want to get Celtic on. I don't want possession just for the sake of possession. I want possession with the intent to supply goals. And if we get that, I'll be happy, and we'll have a successful season.
No, definitely.
Who would you guys rather play next Wednesday?
Bratislava, because again, the away leg is obviously going to be. I mean, I'd say Bratislava are probably the better team. I don't know much about Kairat at all, but for the away leg being only a few days before Ibrox, I'd much rather we were travelling to Bratislava than going to the arse end of Kazakhstan, which is further away than Afghanistan. It's an 11-hour flight or something like that. Don't really fancy Celtic doing that. And I do know the last time we were in Bratislava, it didn't go particularly well back in 2005. With some bad memories of that one. But yeah, I would much rather be Slovan Bratislava over the 2 legs.
I think if you just go on recent history, or the most recent history available, I know that there's that Art Media result, but that's sort of in the
long time ago.
I think if you go against Bratislava last season, it was 5-1 at home and we were well worth that. It's a shorter trip. But if you go to the most recent experiences of Kazakhstan, you've got Astana, which was hurt in the mouth under Brendan Rodgers. And you had Karagandhi, where we were 2-0 down from the first leg and managed to rescue it 3-0. So I think whilst I totally agree, Bratislava are the better team out of those two, I think the away trip has got more trepidation for us, and I think overall you'd prefer to play Bratislava. Just the overall package is just more preferable.
Yeah, no, definitely. We'll keep our eyes peeled on that one. That second leg is obviously through the week. So we'll wrap up there, guys. That's an hour and a half we've been on. We've done a full length of a football game, 90 minutes. There you go. A 90-minute post-match show for a 90-minute game. There you are. So obviously the plan going forward for this week is, it turns out we've actually a game of football next Friday. We're actually playing Falkirk. So Terry will be back on. He'll be in charge of the controls and everything. I believe Mick will be jumping on with you for the post-match. There'll be no Friday feeling with me and Liam. Terry will be on, and I believe Mick will be on. Maybe somebody else from the team will jump on as well to make it a threesome. Who knows? We'll see. A triple threat of Tim's. We'll wait and see if somebody else comes on. But through the week, I guess we'll do a TIC talking, because we'll need to look ahead to the Falkirk game. And as I said, this time last Sunday, Celtic give us something interesting to talk about as well. Give us some headlines. Give us a new signing or something like that. But I do think it would be smart to jump on and do a show midweek at some point to look ahead to the Falkirk game. Will we see some rotation in the team? Will we take the chance to play guys like Sinisalo, give them a bit of minutes, because these are the opportunities, the League Cup, Falkirk at home. You'd like to think so. I know they're a Premier League team now, and they did give us a wee fright this time last year in the League Cup, but you'd like to think that some of the fringe players might get a wee bit of time on the park next week, so we'll talk about that. But yeah, it's been a fantastic post. I told you at the start of the show, Terry, he's back. He's back, and he was worth it. His box office, as always, brought his A game tonight to the table. Reegan, it was good to see you as well, mate. Good to have you on. Always welcome. Just always give me a shout and let me know when you're available, and we will get you on as well, mate. And yeah, we will head off now. So to remind everyone in the chat, because there's still 93 is watching, do all the good stuff, like, share, comment, buy a membership, subscribe, all that good stuff. Help the channel out, because we're on an upward trajectory. So let's keep it going. Guys. So yeah, great result today for Celtic. A decent performance, nice control performance. Aberdeen proved that they're kind of overrated, really, after all the hype and all the brouhaha. But don't worry, Aberdeen, you've still got that cup you can talk about for the next X amount of years. I'm sure they're going to. How many times did they mention that today? Scottish Cup final, Scottish Cup. Honestly, do me. See if you were drinking during the game, doing like take a shot every time they mentioned the Scottish Cup final. You wouldn't have made it past 5 minutes in that game. But anyway, all that aside, we're going to head off now, folks. Thanks everybody for watching. Do all the good stuff on the way out, and we shall catch you on the next one. See you later, guys.